Let's get into it with Phil. Phil, your thoughts and reaction to the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl and what lessons can be learned from that win by the Chiefs for the New England Patriots as they approach their offseason.
Well, the first takeaway is that Mahomes is the real deal. And he's already, I think, on the Mount Rushmore of NFL quarterbacks. You know, Brady, Montana, Mahomes, whoever you want to put him forth. But he's in that conversation right below Tom Brady. And I think right there with Joe Montana. I think he is there. I think that win solidified him in that position. Now, in terms of the lessons that can be learned, I've had some fun with this one over the course of the last 24 hours because it gets some people hot depending on who you're talking to. And I want to preface it by saying I think Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. I think he might be somewhere in the top 12 of the NFL right now. Had a tremendous season. Led the league in NFL quarterback rating. Led the league in yards per attempt. He's good. Unfortunately for the Niners, good isn't good enough if you want to win a Super Bowl in today's NFL. You need someone who can create plays on their own with a physical skill set that is better than the one that Brock Purdy possesses. I thought he had a fine game, though, but it wasn't good enough. 6.7 yards per attempt, completed 60% of his passes. One touchdown, no picks, good on him for that, didn't turn it over. But I think we here locally especially have been brainwashed a bit into appreciating quarterbacks who don't lose their team the game. And that's good. That's a valuable skill. But it's not enough. It's not enough just not to lose your team the game in the biggest game of the year. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you need a quarterback who is great. And I think there are a handful of great quarterbacks in the league. Mahomes is generational. But there are a tier of quarterbacks in the league that I think are great right now. That's what you need. That's what you need. Birdie's not enough.
I'm with you, Phil. Like, Mahomes is on another planet. And I told Beetle this last night when we talked. I watched the game again. And a couple things jumped out to me. I didn't think Purdy played as well as I thought he played when we first watched the game. But that second time watching it, he was pretty damn good. Like, the Chiefs scored only one regulation touchdown. That game went to overtime. So it's not like they lost by 40 saying, boy, we got to go get the guy to get us over the hump. If they blocked the middle of that third down when they were inside the 10, where you had Ayuk on a backside slant and another guy pilling out on a little quick out on the right side, you had two guys open for touchdowns instead of having to kick the field goal when nobody blocked Chris Jones. Say you don't fumble the damn punt. Maybe they don't get us possession down in there. Say you do something with Patrick Mahomes' interception at the 13 mark of the third quarter. We never even mentioned it yesterday. They did nothing with that. There's your game. Like, he made enough plays in that game, Phil, to keep his team in it and win it, I thought. Now, Mahomes, extraordinary. You know, that last one where you get misdirection, even the fourth down one to me, that was the most impressive one of the game, the 4th and 1, where he took off a fake off the right side. He wasn't going to get stopped. I think he gained like 22 yards. That's the special things he does that I don't think Purdy can do. But Purdy, I thought, did enough to win that game. That's another takeaway I had from rewatching it, that he was good. Like, if I'm Shanahan, I'm not sitting there thinking, boy, I got to go get another guy.
No, and I don't think you're pressing to go get someone different, though, because he's good enough to win you a bunch of regular season games. And if you have the 12th best quarterback in the league on a rookie contract, you're not thinking about moving on from him. But do you want to pay him $50 million a year?
No.
I mean,
no, I
he ain't that. And so you're right, Zoe. You're 100%
He's better than Mac
right.
Jones, that's for sure.
Well, he's better than Mac Jones. We know that. But it's not his fault, right, that the punt hits his teammate's foot and they end up muffing a punt, giving up a huge play that way. It's not his fault that Christian McCaffrey fumbles inside the 10. But the great quarterbacks, to me, have the ability to make plays that overcome those difficult circumstances that your team is inevitably going to run into. Patrick Mahomes' team, for instance, couldn't run the ball. They averaged about 3 yards per carry with their backs. They turned it over twice. Same number of turnovers that the Niners had in the game. They had 6 penalties. Same number of penalties that the Niners had in the game. One guy made plays at the end, and they weren't otherworldly plays. I mean, he scrambled for a first down on 4th and 1. He scrambled for a lot of yardage in overtime that got them deep into Niners territory, helped set them up for the game-winning score. But these were not plays that you look at and say, oh, my God, no one else on the planet can make those plays. But he didn't turn it over. He didn't make mistakes. He executed in critical situations. The Niners were 3 for 12 on third down. You need a quarterback who can give you more than 3 for 12 on third down and 60% completions in the biggest game of the year with a historically talented offense. They got first-team All-Pros all throughout that offensive huddle for San Francisco. You need a quarterback who can elevate on his own because that's what you need in the biggest games of the year against a generational quarterback like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, the things he did well were not getting sacked, avoiding turning the ball over, right? Things that you look at and say, good game manager there. That's what that is, right? The longest completion came in overtime, which was the 24 yards for McCaffrey, right? So there was really nothing there downfield. He missed some throws in this game. He just wasn't elite. He wasn't. And if you had a better quarterback, some of those throws may have been there. And I think that's the difference. I think that's the difference between having a guy who can manage the game and not make mistakes and do a good job reading zone, as he did at multiple points in this game, right? He's smart. He's a really intelligent guy. Don't turn it over. Don't take sacks. Positive yards. Take what the defense is giving to you. All of that. But at what point do you say, it's nice to have a guy who doesn't screw it up, but we want a guy who we will win because he is making plays. He is elevating his team. He's something closer, not the same as, but something closer to Patrick Mahomes than what Brock Purdy is.
You need a truck, not a trailer. That's how Daniel Jeremiah, our buddy, Daniel Jeremiah from NFL Network puts it. You need someone who can pull the team along.
Well, he's a truck. He's just like a little, 4-cylinder, something small.
Ford Explorer.
I mean, we'll see, right? At some point, if they do
Ford
pay
Edge.
him, he's going to have to play with a lesser roster around him. He's going to have to play with fewer talented pieces around him. And
That
I don't
won't
think
work.
he's not going to be able to pull them to within one play of a Super Bowl the way he did this year. And Zoe makes a great point with that third down throw in overtime. They're on the 9-yard line for Kansas City. The line completely botches it. Chris Jones gets through unblocked. That's a difficult situation for any quarterback to be in.
That should have been ball game.
If you're a little bit bigger, if you're a little bit more of a playmaker within the pocket, does somebody like a Justin Herbert, for instance, sidestep it because he's light on his feet and he's big
Josh
enough
Allen.
to, even if it's an arm tackle, Josh Allen. Chris Jones has his arms around Josh Allen's waist. Josh Allen can still get a throw off. He can make that a positive play for his team. There's a third down zone right out of the 2-minute warning where they had an unblocked blitzer, Trent McDuffie, coming right at his face. I know you guys talked about this play yesterday, but that's one where he's looking in the direction of the blitzer, and he hesitates, and he doesn't throw the little slant to Brandon Ayuk because he either didn't see it enough. Maybe it's because he's not big enough. He's not seeing over the line well enough to
Short
see that blitzer
quarterback's
coming.
problem.
I think that can be a bit of an issue. It's not so much an issue that you can't be a top 12 guy. He's a top 12 guy. Is he a Super Bowl winning quarterback? I don't think he is. You need something more.
You need a little bit more ability. And you don't need a guy that matches Patrick Mahomes. You don't need another Mahomes. You don't need to find a guy who's better than Mahomes. You do need to find a guy who's better than Brock Purdy. You do need to find a guy who's better than whatever Mac Jones on his best day will give you.
Like in this day and age, with
bring it back
everything
to the
that we
Pats.
have at our disposal, the ability to scout, the ability to look at these athletes and how guys are built, 6'4". I mean, you look at the guys coming out. Drake May, 6'5". Jane Daniels, 6'4", 6'5 plus, but all upright, tight, that could run. Like Purdy does. So I don't mean this the bad way. Purdy doesn't look the part. Looks like some little guy they got off the street. He don't look like an NFL quarterback. And I don't say that's a demeaning thing to him. It's not, because he's gotten to an NFC title game when he got hurt. He got to a Super Bowl, which I thought he played pretty well in. So I'm not saying that type of guy can't play in this league. It's just, man, we gaga and gush over the guys that are built like Zeus, and there's a lot of them coming up.
It's really interesting. You know, we're in such a fortunate position where all of us are able to talk to people who are in the game, who know so much about the game. And the way that I've been trained as a reporter is to, okay, take their word at face value, double check it with other people who know about the game. We're getting paid a lot of money to coach this game and teach this game. I'm choosing to believe what Steve Spagnuolo was telling us he thought of Brock Purdy by how he defended Brock Purdy. And what he thought of Brock Purdy was that if we blitzed him to Kingdom Come, he wouldn't be able to handle it because he's just not skilled enough. You don't blitz Patrick Mahomes. You don't blitz Aaron Rodgers. You didn't blitz Tom Brady because those guys would kill you. You blitzed Brock Purdy 19 times in the Super Bowl if you're the Chiefs. Steve Spagnuolo called it again and again and again, and a bunch of them were cover zero. No safety, send the house, see if he can handle it. And he couldn't handle it. It created muddy pockets, again, for a small quarterback, I think, who has a hard time seeing the field and has a hard time moving around both inside and outside the pocket. At times, he's a good enough athlete, but he's not one of these next-level guys. And so they challenged him, and they made it really hard for him, especially on third down. 3 for 12 on third down. That's the number I keep coming back to. It's tough to win when you're 3 for 12 on third down.
Yep.
But Phil
couldn't
real
overcome
quick,
that.
Spagnuolo and his game plans in the biggest games, NFC title games, Super Bowls. I think he's got, 4 big ones in the Super Bowl that you could say that guy got them a ring. I know all the credit goes to the quarterback, but when it's all said and done, man, Spags is real important to a lot of dynasties. The Giants to this one. He should get some head coach love, unless he just loves coaching D. At some point,
Couldn't agree
back
more.
to being a head coach.
Couldn't agree more. Very underrated. One of the best defensive coordinators in football. And this year, I think he started to get some credit because his defense was so damn good all year. They were one of the best in the league all year long, and they had a tremendous game in the biggest game of the year. Local guy.
Grafton.
Grafton, Mass.
146.